Hello and welcome to another episode of Quirky Pop. It's me, Katrina Parker, here, fresh back from Gallifrey One. And he's special. It's Adam Lance Garcia. Like, you may remember him from almost 2 years ago. He was on my show. We talked about Doctor Who and his work, and he's like back again to talk to me. How are you doing today, Adam?
I'm doing so well. I'm so happy to be back, and hopefully less fire alarms this time.
For those of you who didn't listen to that particular episode, which you should, during our interview, like, this fire alarm went off, and apparently Adam says it's like a ghost that likes to
Oh
spook
yeah,
everyone every once in a
yeah.
while.
He hasn't done it in a while, so we're okay. So I think we should be fine. I
Okay.
say that now, and then like the building will burn down. But one way to find out.
Okay. So Adam, just tell us what you've been up to. You've had a lot of great things happening. I'm so proud. Tell everyone what you're doing.
Well, you're recording this literally after the biggest news of my life broke. It's been announced that I'm one of the contributors to the 40th anniversary of Star Wars from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi. It's my very first Star Wars story. If anyone knows me online or just in person, I am a massive Star Wars fan, and my entire writing career has always been with a goal of one day writing a Star Wars. So it's been announced on March 9th of 2023 that I am a Star Wars author now, and that is a very fun sentence to say. And besides that, I am still producing videos for Condé Nast, and I am working on my Green Llama novel and planning out the second season of the Green Llama audio drama. And that is the short version of what's been going on. Obviously, the big news is the Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
And it's also really surreal for me because this is literally like my first interview with anyone after it. So I'm sort of still glowing. Yeah. So
That is
it's
so freaking awesome. Like, I'm very proud. I'm like, I know him. Like, yeah.
There's been a lot of like family friends who are like, oh yeah, no, this is always going to happen. They're like,
Yeah.
if you look at me growing up, they're like, oh yeah, like there's no way this wasn't going to happen. But like,
Mhm.
you never know this is going
Yeah.
to happen. It was, getting the email, would you like us to try to Star Wars, is probably the coolest email I'll ever get. So
Mhm.
yeah.
That is pretty awesome. And how are your cat sons doing?
My cat sons Puck, Crystal Noodles, and Pippin Thomas Copperfield are currently sleeping behind me. Pippin is sleeping with his tummy up, which is great because he has a great tummy and it's so much fun to rub. They're doing really well. Pippin is about to turn 7 this week. And Puck is going to be turning 14 this year.
Oh,
He's
he's
my
an
old
old
man baby.
guy.
Yeah, he's an old guy, but you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're wonderful. When my girlfriend's home, my girlfriend's a traveling nurse, and so she just, a big part of when she's home is just spending as much time with the cats as possible and
Hmm.
just holding on to them. And Pip, so they're doing really well. Thank you for asking, because they're the best.
They are. They are. And I hopefully maybe you'll get back to posting just updates about you and your mom watching Doctor Who. Like, I loved reading
Oh
those.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was back when I was staying at. It was during the height of the pandemic when I was staying with my parents because my girlfriend was a nurse, and obviously there was that whole pandemic thing, which is why I said it was during the pandemic. Wow, this is why we have editors, kids. So yeah, it was during the pandemic, and it was like definitely introduced my mom to it. She's the only thing she hasn't finished Capaldi season. It's the only season she hasn't watched. She watched everything from Eccleston up to the beginning of Capaldi, and she had started with Whitaker. And I know she's very excited to see David Tennant return before Shuchigawa comes in, because she is a big David Tennant fan.
Okay.
So yeah, so maybe we'll sit down again with the 60th anniversary special.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, why don't you tell us about your trip to London? Because you didn't, I don't know if you really said what you were doing.
I what is the version I'm allowed to tell
Oh,
about why I was in London?
it
I
was
went to
for
go
work.
so it was for work. It was
Okay.
a day as many might know, but probably not a lot of people do. I my day job is I am a creative producer at Condé Nast, which means I mostly direct videos with celebrity talent, mostly for Vanity Fair, some for Teen Vogue. I help on them, and sometimes Pitchfork. I've also done Wired and other things. It's a really dumb job. It's the best kind of dumb job where it is just, hey, Adam, do you like movies? You want to talk about movies with this director? And I'm like, yeah. Then I'm like, yes, of course I will. Like, I love Ryan Johnson. I got to direct Ryan Johnson. I get to spend, like, one of my favorite recent ones was Amanda Seyfried. It's just a lovely human being. Just
Hmm.
talking about her work. Jenna Ortega, recently, just I've worked with her now twice, and she's lovely. So there is a video that I was sent to direct in London, and it was a visit to a TV series that has a new season coming, and I think that's all I'm allowed to say. It was a very surreal trip for a number of reasons, because I was on set directing uh, on my actual birthday, so I was this really surreal moment of being in London on this all expense paid trip, to do something that I legitimately love. And my girlfriend asked me, like, when I went out there, like, do you have any plans? 'Cause I had a couple of days to myself. Um, and I was just, I just want to walk. I just want to walk the city and travel around and spend time just kind of enjoying the fact that I'm in this place and in this country, uh, to do something that I really love. And right now, my cat Pippin, because no one can see this, but my cat Pippin is currently trying to get his wormy. We have this little, like, hanging.
Oh,
We have this little, like, cat chaser, and
yeah.
it's like worm shaped, and he freaking loves it. Um, and it's one way we're helping him lose weight. But right now, so again, you can't see this, so this is great for audio. But he is currently trying to knock it down, and Katrina's gonna be having a great time watching him try to eat it in the background.
Oh,
So
yeah. I saw him
yeah.
pop up first and I'm like, don't geek out over a cat. It's a cat,
Oh
but
no,
I
you
love
should totally
cats.
geek out on. You should totally. I geek out on cats all the time. It's a thing that I do in all every Zoom meeting or
Yeah.
podcast I'm on. I'm just like, forget what we're talking about. Let's focus on the cats because they're
Hmm.
cool and fun. You can go, okay, there he's gonna go eat something. So yeah, it was. So back to London. It was just a really, really. It was a really cool trip, and I hope to be able to talk more about it in fall of this year.
Okay, cool.
So
I'll definitely be
yeah.
waiting for that. Like I love London. I've been there once
Mhm.
before years ago. Like I got to see, well, I took a bus to Cardiff to go see the Doctor Who experience before it
Yeah, I
closed.
yeah, I actually, when I was out there, I saw the Doctor Who experience, but it was still in London at the Olympia.
Okay.
Uh but I did go to Cardiff as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm sorry, you're saying.
No, yeah, I was just saying like just going there and stuff. And I think like on Instagram you were taking suggestions. I was like, get some like afternoon tea with clotted cream because I love clotted cream so
I did
much.
not get, I didn't get to do that, but
Oh,
I did go to several pubs. And that I just kind of like, there's one, the Ye Old Chester cheese, and that was really cool because, like, from the 1600s, and just you could smell it. You can smell the, like, the hundreds of years just
uh-huh.
there, and that was really cool. But yeah, no, London's a really cool town, and Cardiff was really cool too. And the Doctor Who experience was, I mean, I don't know what it was like when you saw it, but I giggled like a little kid when the TARDIS, like, materialized behind you, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you go inside, it's bigger on the inside. And like I know what's happening. I don't
Yeah.
care. I'm just having a great time. And I'm like, at the time I'm in like my mid-20s and I'm just like pushing kids out of the way to like I like just so I can like pilot it. I don't give a crap. Get out of my way, kid. I gotta pilot this. Um so yeah, it was a blast. It
Hmm.
was it was also really cool because like it was during that weird period of time between like during the Matt Smith era where like it sort of Doctor Who had kind of reached the zeitgeist in a really interesting way.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, like it was bigger than ever in ways that I didn't really expect. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, so let's move on to Gallifrey
sure.
One. Adam wasn't there, but like
I
I got
wasn't. You
to,
were.
yeah, I got to go to Gallifrey One. It was my very first time. I actually went by myself. I didn't know anyone personally there, which people were like, wow. But like it's one of those trips where it's okay because everyone there is just so like kind and warm and stuff. Like I don't know if you saw like the ribbons that I
Yeah.
had, like that's like a thing that they do. And someone explained it to me. They were like, this is like a way we say hello to each other. So they have like these little short ribbons that when you meet someone, they hand you one and you kind of like put it on like your pass, and it can get really long, depending on how long you let it. Like someone ended up giving me like a roller thing to kind of like roll them down. But someone was like, it helps that a lot of the people there because they're like neurodivergent, and it just kind of like helps them start conversations. So I think when I go next year, I'll probably have to bring some ribbons of my own, but I have to come up with something clever to put on them.
Yeah, I've seen photos and I saw the stuff that you shared and like how long did it get? Like did you get down to the floor?
Yeah. So mine was like my height. I'm 5'4". Mine was like 5'4", but like
That's amazing.
I left Saturday night because like my daughter had a magical performance on Sunday. So I had to be a parent.
Yeah,
But it probably would have gotten longer if I would have stayed longer. But yeah, it was like as tall as I am. And I love it
that's
because and
amazing.
some people take their old ones and they make like jackets or skirts or something out of it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, because like you expect cosplay, but I've
Mhm.
saw something I never noticed before. They changed because I guess they've had it at the same conference center hotel for years, and they changed the carpet. And there are people who came there dressed as the old carpet.
Yeah, I've seen that as well at like what's it called? Dragon Con, where
Okay.
like when like so Dragon Con is I've never been to there, but I know a lot about it because I have a lot of friends who are based out in Atlanta and they share a lot of photos. But it takes place in this one hotel, which has been used as a location for like shows of like Loki, and a
Mm-hmm.
few other places. And if you like the carpet had become so iconic that people started dressing as the carpet,
Yeah.
which I think is hilarious. It's one of those things where it's like it's only in sort of the geek cultures where you can have someone make a costume based on what the hotel flooring looks like.
Yeah.
It's a what was your favorite part of Gallifrey One besides the big thing? The big thing, well, I'm sure we're gonna get to,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Uh,
what some of your favorite interactions?
like I think just talking to people, like I mean I met like a lot of new people. Like actually the person that I had brunch with, I met them at Gallifrey One, and I had brunch
Nice.
with him and his family, and I'm like, this is great. Like now I have like a kind of local because it's like 2 hours away from my where I am, but I'm out there all the time anyway.
Yeah.
Just like meeting new friends. Definitely the panels, because like I got to be on a panel, which I that was like really fun to do.
What was what was the panel about?
It was about just like people of color within Doctor
Yeah.
Who. And the
Awesome.
moderator just like asked us different questions and stuff, and that was a lot of fun.
That's really awesome. And especially like what's been great about like Doctor Who right now, especially, with the incoming era and Joe Martin is actually, we're seeing representation on screen in a way that we really haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think what I've always loved about Doctor Who is this very progressive idea of diversity and representation, and you know, being treating everyone as equally as possible, but that's not always been reflected upon in the cast. You know, for
Yeah.
the majority of its time, it's been white men, and their companions have been, generally speaking, white women. So
Hmm.
it's really nice to hear that, like, that is being supported in the fan community as well as it on screen, because it's, I don't know, it's for all the pushback from the worst parts of fandom,
Yeah.
like, that's what Doctor Who is about. It's about inclusivity.
Hmm.
So I'm really happy that they had that.
Yeah. And then like people that I had started following on Twitter, they were at the London Comic Con recently, and they said there was this guy who was like walking around to anyone who was dressed up like Jodie Whittaker or Yaz and or Bill, like because like his thing is like anything right when Bill Potts came and after is trash, and he has to let everyone know that. And he was just really harassing a lot of like people, and like people who went to Galley, they were like, that would never happen at Galley. Like they would be told to leave and that they couldn't come
Yeah.
back again. So I mean, that's like one thing that I like about Gallifrey One. Like they don't really put up with like the harassment.
Yeah, I mean, that's good to hear, because I mean, yeah, I mean, London Comic Con's, I mean, the biggest difference obviously is that that's a bigger convention, and it's,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get douche nozzles like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the real fans of Doctor Who, to my mind, are the ones who can be like, it doesn't matter where you come in, what you look like, and who you enjoy. It's Doctor
Yeah.
Who,
Like let
you
people
know?
enjoy things. Like why'd you
Yeah,
buy a ticket to spend
yeah,
all your time telling people that you don't like what they like? That's very
right, yeah, like,
strange.
it's so weird. It's in all fandoms.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never understand it, because it's just like, I don't understand pulling people down when you could lift people up. It's like, ugh, I don't know. It's also like just a woeful misreading of the content that you claim to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I do not understand these humans.
Yeah.
It's like, why be a Dalek? You can be a Time Lord.
It's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
Um, so like before I went, like you had told me to look out for your friend Alfie
Yes.
Shaw. And I looked for him, and like I saw Dominique Martin there. And
Hmm.
which like I saw, and I'm just like, is that him? It can't be. Like he came here for UK. And I was like nervous to approach him, but he was actually really nice. He actually
Yeah.
has like your energy a little bit, I noticed.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like asking him another guy from Big Finish like about Alfie, and they're like, so why do you want to see Alfie? I'm like,
Yeah.
let me back this up so
Yeah. Let
I
me
don't look
roll.
crazy.
Yeah, like, let me explain. Like, this is a guy I follow on Twitter. So Alfie, it's funny. This is Alfie and I. How can I tell the story? Um he and I have become very good friends over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly just a lot of WhatsApping, and sometimes we'll get talk on Zoom. Because it's no secret that I want to one day, hopefully, maybe write for Big Finish. It's like something that I Big Finish as source of entertainment and as a company represents a lot of things that I fundamentally love. I mean, going back to the politics conversation that we were just having, like, I think they do so much to sort of lift up all fandoms. You have
Mm-hmm.
Stranded, which introduces a major trans character. You have the current Sixth Doctor story, which introduces a disabled character. You have when one of their castmate members spoke out about the trans community, they stopped hiring them. They're very clear and open about being as supportive of the fans and the diversity of fans as much as possible. Like, they are showing gay relationships. Like, I was just listening to Class recently, like in a really great way. So like politically and sort of like I think again in understanding what Doctor Who is, they get it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, from a purely entertainment level, Big Finish is God, they're so well produced. Just I can go on about like the reason why I think like Big Finish as is sort of standard for me in terms of audio production. It's what when I did my own Green Llama audio drama, it was how do I make it feel like Big Finish? Like what's that level? What do they do? How do they function things? So I know it's no secret that I want to work with them. And
Mm-hmm.
I Alfie and I have become really good friends, and we've wanted to work together for a few years. It hasn't panned out, but it's become just a good friendship in
Yeah.
general. And that has been like when I was out in London, he coincidentally, like after he left Gallifrey One, he landed in London like the one day there's like one day overlap between him coming back from Galley One and me going to work there. So we just spent the afternoon getting dinner and getting drinks and just chatting. But I made a joke. I was like, he was in my country to like, anyone like can find him, say
Mm-hmm.
hi. And I think I mean, I could talk at length about why I think Alfie is such a great human.
Mm-hmm.
He's very supportive. I mean, uh, he incredibly supportive in a way that like I didn't know how to like I didn't expect. He would go out of like we spent like the first time we ever chatted like 4 hours just talking about production and what I can learn, because I had reached out. I'm like, look, I'm producing this audio drama. Like, what can I do? What can I do? How should I approach this? Um, but then he's just kind and friendly, and we just trade jokes. And then from more of a like again kind of doubling back to professional, it's like I have several friends who are writers. I have a lot of friends who are writers. One of my closest friends is Steele Philippek. He produces the Green Llama with me. Um, but Alfie and I are both working on licensed material
Mm-hmm.
now, like me with Star Wars, him with Doctor Who. And we can kind of sort of commiserate about that experience in a way that
Yeah.
like I didn't you don't really get to like have.
Yeah.
And it's he and some other Big Finish authors like James Goss and even Cavan Scott have all been really helpful in sort of like helping me guide me through this. But Alfie specifically, just a great human,
Yeah.
just a really cool guy. I'm sure he's so much younger than I am. Uh, it was funny though because I took a photo with him and I sent it to my girlfriend, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, hey, I finally met Alfie. Because I mentioned him a lot. Especially when you're in an 11-year relationship, if you're not telling your girl, your partner who you're talking to, it's weird.
Yeah.
But but the best part was like I took a photo and she was like, she thought Alfie was like a white guy in his like late 60s, and she had to completely recalibrate like what this like early 30s something like guy looked like. And it was just like it was the funniest thing in the world. Like I was sharing with Alfie, I'm like, this is what my girlfriend says, and she's like, yeah, well, that's pretty accurate, but like completely off at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it
Yeah.
was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good
I'm
guy.
sorry I didn't like actually get to meet him, but like I
No
did
worries.
tell
Yeah,
Dominic, I'm like my friend Adam, I was like, do I say the whole name? Lance
it's
Garcia.
fine. He has no idea who I am.
And it was just
I know
like,
Dominic
yeah,
Martin. Yeah.
like he thinks he's awesome. So like please tell him that this random person at the convention thinks he's awesome from his friend Adam. So I don't know if
There you
they
go.
told him. I don't know.
Probably not, because he didn't tell me about it when we met, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, if you want to listen to like speaking of Alfie and Big Finish, like listen to his current 11th Doctor Chronicle run. It's like Jacob Dudman's last run on Big Finish as the 11th Doctor, and it's set between it's like sort of building towards the Bells of St. John. So it's
Mm-hmm.
after the snowman and before the Bells of St. John, and it's
Okay.
all about his search for Clara, and he gets like this new companion. But it's really cool because it's like the best thing about Big Finish one, it's so many things that are great about Big Finish, but like they're really good at taking these giant holes in the canon and filling it in interesting ways. And I think he's because it's this unseen time post Amy and Rory, pre Clara, that you're able to like get into like some really interesting territory with the 11th Doctor. There's a couple in the most recent box set that are really, just one that's really messed up. But yeah, totally recommend. Highly recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I want to talk about like, I don't know. I'm just gonna call it. It's the best. It was the best day of my life outside of anything that I've done with my kids.
Yeah.
Like when I got back from work, my coworkers were like, "Katrina, you're glowing," and that's usually what people say when you're like in a new relationship. So
Mm.
do with that information what you will. Um,
So I think you're bearing the lead though. What happened?
so I got to meet Jodie Whittaker. Like, so first I did the she signed my autograph. And like I was like just so nervous. And before we got there, they were like, she's not going to do anything personal. She's just going to sign and you're just going to go. So I was even expecting to talk to her there. So when I gave her my thing, she was just like, "Hi, how are you enjoying the convention?" And I'm like, "This is like the best birthday weekend ever." And she like smiled. And I was like, "Yeah, I just turned 41." And then she like stopped signing. And then she like looked up at me and she's like, "What?" But it didn't sound like her doing like the tenant what at all. It was
Yeah.
like definitely it must be like a Jody what? Like, what the
Yeah.
hell do you mean? So I'm like, yeah, I'm like 6 months older than you. So that was funny. Um, and then like after that, like I had two photo ops with her. The
Mhm.
first one, like I felt so weird. Like it's like I thought I'd be prepared because like you talked about like how great she is and
Mhm.
it's cool and stuff. But like I was like worried that like I was gonna be like over the top happy. I actually wasn't, but like I can't believe how I grabbed her in the first picture. Like I'm like hugging her for like dear life, and like we're both smiling. I'm just like, oh my god, that was a lot. But I'm
Mhm.
sure she gets a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um and then like the second one, which the girl who was behind me, I guess someone was recording for her, but they recorded mine. She like found me on Twitter. It's like, "Hey, I have video of your second picture with
Right.
Jodie." And that like blew me away. So like now I have like a little bit of extra thing to like have of her. And it was fun because I asked her to like recreate this picture where she's like looking at Mandip in one
Mhm.
picture, and like she like looked at the photo, she's like she kind of like smiled and she just like did it right away. And just like the interaction, like she's like everything that like you said about her is like true. And
Yeah.
everyone just like had good things to say about her. I think when she was doing um autographs, like uh the second day they were like she stayed longer than what she was supposed to make sure everyone got a chance.
Yeah. No, I think, in my interactions with her, and mind you, like my interactions with her are always gonna be slightly different
Right.
than yours because like, when for those of you again, as I've insinuated, like I direct a lot of celebrities and I was able to I had the chance to direct Jodie and interview Jodie on two separate occasions, and she is absolutely lovely. But like, again, I'm experiencing her on an extended basis on a in a more professional setting. So even though I'm a fan and I make it known that I'm a fan because for a number of reasons, like it does help with your interactions with these celebrities. I even then she's so down to earth and so excited about this role and clearly takes it really seriously. I will still remember like her grabbing my arm and being really excited because we had this really interesting conversation um, about how she didn't want to watch or didn't really watch the other doctors because she started to watch the other doctors while she was performing, and then she got really in her own head about how am I doing this wrong? Like,
Mm-hmm.
did I make it, like, am I doing it completely wrong? Like, they're doing all these different things and I'm not doing those things. And I said to her, like, that's okay. That's the Doctor. Like every Doctor has their own feel. And I was like, and David Tennant, like I'm like Capaldi had this, Matt Smith had this, and like David Tennant had this swashbuckling hero, and she grabbed my arm. She's like, yes, that's exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really just a really effusive and kind, um, even in a situation that she didn't necessarily have to be.
Yeah.
So again, my cat is playing with his toy in the background. So it's not as bad as a fire alarm, but if you hear a little
Yeah.
in the background, that's because
That's
Pippin
okay. I love
really
you,
wants to play
Pippin. I
with
know
me.
you can't hear me, but I love you.
He's my big boy. He's such a big boy. He's my big meaty boy. I love him so much. It's also like, I like it sounds silly, like just to talk about cats for a second. Like he is such a scaredy cat. And whenever anyone
Mhm.
rang the doorbell, he would run away. He didn't but now recently he's been bell rings, and he's just like whatever now. And it's just
Mhm.
so nice to see him grow and change. It's I don't know if I'll ever have kids, but this is like the closest. I mean, this might be the closest I ever have to it, but it's like he's growing and changing and becoming an adult. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. So like I kind of want to talk about like photo ops like in general, like
Mhm.
because like you are usually on the other side.
Yeah.
You don't have to like have you ever like gone through a queue for like these photo ops?
I have gone through queues for autographs.
Okay.
Definitely not so much for on camera talent, but mostly for authors and things like that. Because again, like a lot of my fandom when it comes to both Doctor Who and Star Wars is I love collecting stories. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have a massive collection of the Virgin New Adventures, which are just bonkers. Like I love reading the story, so I will definitely stand online to get the signature from someone. I've never really done photo ops. I'm trying to think if I've done any like signatures with talent. Um, maybe I can't. I don't think so.
Okay.
But understand, like I'm very very lucky in my career that like I get to talk to these talented individuals for a living. So the for me, there is no incentive almost to like to go on these things. But
Yeah.
that's for but at the same time, like I totally get it. Like I can see like how exciting it is, and I can understand that thrill to have this, even if it's like 30 seconds with
Mm-hmm.
this this person that's so definitive in your life that you don't really I think that we kind of forget, um especially being on the other side of it sometimes, is that like you might have like this actor, and I've said this to some of the talent before, it's like you only had this for a moment. Like I did this one interview with someone who's actually behind the screen talent, doesn't matter who and what. um but it was like you worked on this thing for a couple of years, right, or a year or whatever, and then you moved on to the next thing and to the next thing to the next thing. We don't expect you to understand that. Even like I said this in my Jodie interview, I'm like, look, the reason I'm here, the reason I'm directing you on this video is because I know all this stuff. You did this show, this episode and this thing, and you moved on. But for us, it lingers. For us, it becomes a part of our life. We revisit these stories over
Mm-hmm.
and over and over again. So we create these like really important relationships with this talent. So I can like seeing your photos and seeing people standing in line. I understand that enthusiasm. It's not something I've ever experienced, but at the same time, I love Ryan Johnson. I don't normally do this, but I asked if I can get a photo afterwards. It was because I'm like, this is my big like one of my favorite directors, Neil Gaiman, for example. I waited online for him for hours and hours and hours, and I got a signature. And he was gonna wait there until everyone got a signature, just like Jodie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to meet him again. I got a photo with him, and then like when I directed him recently, they're like, ask, can you get a photo? And even now, after all this time, I'm like, yes, please. Like, yes, please,
Yeah.
thank you. I
Yeah.
would love that. Yes.
Yeah. Like, I mean, waiting for like one of my Jody photo ops, like they had like these like people who were had like a disability off to the side, and they were like following them in at times and stuff. And like this one lady felt like she had waited enough, and they were about to let me in, and then like she like lifted up her cane, like kind of like in my face, kind of like a "you shall not pass" move. And I was like, I wasn't even mad because like I got it. Like I'm
Yeah.
going to see Jody. Like, go ahead, old lady. Go ahead in front
Yeah.
of me. It's okay. I'm going to get there. But then like I found myself being like protective over Jody. Like there were like people in there who were like the stereotypical fanboys who like decided not to wash themselves before they like got in the queue. And I'm just like, how dare you show up
Yeah.
there and want to take a picture to Jody? I'm like, you better not touch her. Like,
Yeah.
she doesn't need your funk. Like, you have enough money if you're here, so like just take a quick rinse off.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm yeah, I don't know. Fans are it's interesting. Look, and I say this as someone who's is a huge fan of these things. Like I am
Yeah,
like I'm looking right now at my two TARDISes and my K9 that are like right between that are bordering my my lightsaber. Like that's what I look at every day
yeah,
when I'm like, because I work from home, so it's just like every day I look at two TARDISes. Every day I look at a lightsaber. Like this stuff is life defining for me. Um, but I shower, you know. And I think it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't
I
get
don't
it
know.
either.
I because it's like in my job I'm supposed to look at things from like a trauma lens, but it was like I couldn't even try to like
Mm,
understand. I'm just like, how dare you? How
yeah.
dare
Yep.
you?
Yep. Yep. No, I know. Yeah. But that was actually like, and that's like something that's really tough. Again, going back to my profession, it's just like,
Mhm.
I have, there's a point of pride in my work where like I can be this massive fan that like I don't have as encyclopedic knowledge as I would like, but I know these properties really well. I live these properties like I watch A Christmas Carol every Christmas.
Mhm.
I listen to Big Finish, I mean, every single day. I'm almost like I kind of I started running almost as an excuse to just listen to Big Finish, to listen to Doctor Who. I consume this content, and I hate that it is called the content. I consume this media and these stories and these story worlds on a day-to-day basis. I'm incredibly passionate about it, and
Mhm.
um I remember, and this is if this is good for like for you, if you ever get to like interview this talent, or for anyone listening, whoever wants to get into this dumbass industry that I'm in, there's a way of conducting yourself. It's like showing that you're passionate,
Yeah.
showing that you care, because that goes a long way. Like the fact that like if you ever want to watch the video I did two videos with Jodie. One in particular is Doctor Who support, where she answers questions from Twitter.
Yeah.
And if you look at the set, that's all stuff I own. Like it's just all these TARDISes, my Doctor Who scarf, like a bunch of sonic screwdrivers, all these various like books and Big Finish box sets, all these different things. It was all mine. So the BBC and everyone like, oh, that's all his. And they're like, oh, he cares. But at the same time, I was able to talk to Jodie like a human being,
Yeah.
and to treat her like, and be able one-to-one, where I could talk to her on the side and have those conversations about like her doctor and what she wants to do and how she wants to approach this. Um, and then still like direct her and still do all these things, and make them feel comfortable without being like, oh my god, I love you so much, oh my god, you're so great, and I'm like, I just want to like
Yeah.
talk to you, and like, oh my god, like, and like, or like being like really possessive of them,
Yeah.
or taking that parasocial relationship and assuming that it's a real relationship.
Right.
um it's a balance, and it's something that I've learned over the last 20 something years doing this job. But like, yeah, it's there are ways to be there's no wrong way necessarily to be a fan.
Mm-hmm.
I I'll put it this way, actually. There's no right way to be a fan. There are definitely wrong ways to be a fan.
Yes.
And the person from the London Comic Con, wrong way to be a fan. People who might not like, who might be possessive of these people and their lives, not the right way to be a fan. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but the right way to be a fan is just enjoy it, man.
Yeah. I mean, I was embarrassed how internally inside excited I was, but like that video just
Don't
kind of
be
like helped
don't
me
be
realize like
embarrassed.
okay, like I kept it under control. I didn't go crazy. I was calm. And I'm like, I think I handled myself okay. But like when I got to my room, I was just like, oh my God. But yeah, in front of her, I was like,
Do you want to do you want to yeah, yeah. But if you want to know, like, I've definitely had like really, and again, I this is my job. I talk to just insane level people. But
mm-hmm,
like, I remember when I was the a good example of, like, I got really nervous was Tyler Perry. Like,
really?
I'm not the biggest, I'm not as familiar with his work as I could be, but
Mm-hmm.
like, it was the most anxious I've ever been in any interview in my life, because it was a combination of, like, he's obviously very, very talented.
Yeah.
But it was his success that
Yeah.
made me, like, literally, I was literally shaking
Hangs
in
out
that
with the
interview.
successes, man.
I mean, it's not like, so, because it was very much like, I again, this hasn't necessarily happened with, like, even bigger talent, like even more, like, arguably, like, bigger A-list talent, but like,
Yeah.
let's be honest, like, Tyler Perry is probably more successful than most, and that was it. Like, I there was a moment, I'm like, I'm sitting down with Tyler Perry in Tyler Perry Studios on One Tyler Perry Way. Like, do you really want to know, like, nothing I do in my life will ever amount to this
Mm-hmm.
guy, and that's insane. So, like being anxious and being excited, we all feel it. Like, and it's that's cool, and that's awesome to have, to be that excited around someone. Like, it is the coolest thing, and then you get to meet them, and they kind of live up to that,
Yeah.
I mean, especially with Jodie, like, just to keep to Jodie, it's just like, I was anxious the first time I talked to her. It was one of the first times I was ever on camera talking to talent, and so kind and so wonderful, and just, but I was anxious. I'm talking to the doctor.
Yeah.
Come on,
Okay.
I'm
That
talking.
makes me feel a
Yeah,
little bit better
yeah,
because it's like I've
yeah.
met notable people before. I had like a 5 minute conversation with Barack Obama before, so it's like I get it.
What? You talked to the president of the United States? Come on,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I
So
haven't done that.
so it was like I don't know, but I'm from Chicago, the Chicago
True,
area. There's
true,
more
true, true,
people who
true.
have that story out
Yeah,
here
no,
than other places.
yeah. But like, yeah, but like, so don't feel like, you shouldn't feel like guilty for that. Like, that's, I know, I had a really long conversation, and this is actually a recent thing, where with Jason Hay Gallery, who runs Big Finish, and I was so anxious during that entire conversation, and this was like relatively recent. This is like the last year or so, um to the point that I was actually shaking. And this is all over Zoom. Again,
Oh
I have to say, like,
no.
I've name dropped a lot of people already, so that the kind of people that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Um, but I was talking to the guy in charge of one of my favorite companies in the world, people who produce things that, like, got me through some of the darkest times of my life. I was I was glad I was on Zoom because my hands were shaking. I can hide them.
Mm-hmm.
And I even said to him at the end of the conversation, like, you might have noticed I was anxious. It's because this company means something to me. It's what you do means something to me. It's not just, like, as much as Star Wars is literally why I do everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to, meet these people and talk to these people and have these conversations of, like, Adam, what do you want to write to Star Wars? Like, yeah. And, like, but for whatever reason, talking to Jason Gallery, I was an anxious mess. Like, it was, I was an absolute mess internally and slightly externally. So it's totally normal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was a really great conversation. I want to move into just like general Doctor Who because I
Sure.
wanted to get your thoughts
Sure.
on
Oh
like the
yeah.
power of the Doctor. Like,
Mhm.
what did you think of that episode?
I think I'm really kind of curious. I felt like it was a really good finale for her
Mm-hmm.
overall, but I think it was 20 minutes too short. I feel like I could see um it felt a little rushed at the end. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
and based on like interviews since then, Chibnall definitely had like a longer version, but they
Yeah.
trimmed it down for whatever reason. And I think it kind of hurt some of the episode. I think um I got so giddy seeing the old doctors, and like again, as a big
Yeah.
Finish fan, like I spend so much time with Sixie and the Seventh Doctor, and Paul McGann. Like seeing Paul McGann on screen is amazing. I'm like, just Jesus, like there he is. He looked like
Yeah.
age is like fine wine.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing all those classic doctors, seeing Peter Davison, seeing like even the first Doctor, and seeing Sophie Aldred again as Ace. I love the idea of Ace. I've always like you see it a lot in the Virgin New Adventures, you see it a lot in Big Finish, but I love this. um I don't know, for whatever reason, like post Seventh Doctor Ace is something I find incredibly fascinating. Seeing Tegan again was also really fascinating, and seeing all the old Doctors and the old versions meeting up with the 13th Doctor was awesome. I think the biggest thing that I kind of wish there was more Jodie in it. I feel like
Yeah.
because I think the Master taking over her body, the old Doctor's coming back, that's where like I feel like the 20 minutes is missing. It's just like we spent so much time with Jodie away that it became this celebration of Doctor Who in general,
Mm-hmm.
which is great.
Yeah.
But I think for her final story, I felt like we just needed a. I wanted to see her more because she deserves it, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, Everything you said about the episode, like I agree. I very much enjoyed the Rasputin dance. Very much. I don't know
Oh yeah,
why.
it was great.
Yeah, and just seeing like the Dalek and the Cyberman kind of look at each other like, what the
Yeah,
hell? Like,
but yeah, I it's it. Go on.
no, no, you go on because you had a
Oh, I
thought.
mean, I just think that like it's interesting because I think and I'm crossing my fingers like that Jodie does Big Finish, because then like we have obviously Eccleston coming back. Tennant comes in when he's not doing a billion other things.
Mm-hmm.
Whether Matt Smith or Capaldi ever show up remains to be seen.
Right.
I mean, but like again, I'm hoping that Jodie comes back because I feel like her Doctor had a lot to offer, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily think the show always gave her that opportunity. And part of
Yeah.
that, like, I think it's just like some of the strongest episodes are like they stand out and you're like, yeah, that's great. Like this is one moment
Mm-hmm.
in God, what was it? It was the one with Mary Shelley. I can't remember the name of it, where you see her anger and she's like,
Yeah.
I'm at the pinnacle, like, and I have to make these hard choices. And it's just like, I wanted more of that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it breaks my heart in some degree that like she decided to leave before Davies like took over. Like
Yeah.
I'm especially based on everything that we're hearing about what the new Davies era is going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, would it like us like longer seasons, consistent seasons,
Yeah.
um, you know, uh expanded universe stuff. I feel like again, I never disliked her Doctor. I've always liked her Doctor. I love her
Mm-hmm.
Doctor. But I feel like the show, her entire run, it always felt like they never really knew what to do with her, and that's no fault of her own.
Yeah.
I think I think it was just like the idea's there, but something was always missing. Like I'm hoping, for example, that like we see if there's a big finish, for example, like we get like just her and Yaz traveling around
Mm-hmm.
for, like just you have who knows how many years they travel by themselves.
Right.
Like I was wanting to see more of that. I wanted to see more of that relationship. I think I was really bummed out that they didn't really address the romance. I felt like they skirted around it.
Yeah.
Because I really like the idea of Yaz being really attracted, like in falling in love with the doctor, and that the doctor, you know, basically saying like I'm in love with you too, but I can't be with you.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like pulling a punch. Um,
Yeah.
so it's just like like yeah, like let them kiss, let them kiss.
Like I was really hoping it was gonna happen
Just
on
one
this
kiss.
episode. And I'm just like, not a kiss goodbye. Oh, okay.
Like yeah, and I wonder if that's like, was there a version that was shot? I don't know.
Yeah.
I probably not, but
Yeah.
like they should have kissed. That's my feeling. Power of the Doctor. It would have been an A+ if they kissed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be so much like fanfic talking about what happened after they had the ice cream. Cause like I follow people in like Bazzy Twitter. That's a wild scene, man. Like,
Really?
yes. Like, cause it's like they're shipping the doctor and yes, but then they're also like shipping themselves with Jodie. And it's like I get it. She's a very attractive woman,
She's a
but it's
very
like
attractive woman. It's very distracting.
it's like I don't want to say it's over the top, but it's just like wow.
Yeah.
Like some of the things don't see, I'm just like, well, okay.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. Like if
I
you
I
ever interview her again, I would ask her how many people have asked to carry you since the power of the doctor came out.
yeah. I'm just thinking also like I know of AO3, and I know my girlfriend sometimes reads on. She's not gonna listen to this, but like I know that she reads on stories on AO3,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think she knows that I know. Either way, it's like I don't know what she reads, but like I am always like I've always been kind of curious, but I'm also like, especially now with where I'm at, I'm like I can't kind of go down that route.
Mm-hmm.
Um, down that rabbit hole, but I've heard stories. I've heard
Yeah.
stories of fanfic. Um, yeah,
Doctor Who
it's
after
funny.
dark.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
No, there was a one that just reminds you, like it's like that's like what Torchwood is. Like there's one story on a couple of stories that Big Finish did that I was really glad that I had headphones on, because I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm listening to what I'm listening to right now. And it's just like it was it was something. It was something. It was
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's two of them. It's the Captain, not Captain Jack, it's the Captain John one, where it's like it shows like the adventures of Captain Jack and Captain John. Oof. There's what, like when you get to it, you'll like if you ever listen to it, you'll know what it is. It's like just under X rated. It's like NC-17. And you're just like, holy crap, this is a thing. And then there's one of the very first runs with I forget what it's called, where there's a living doll thing. Yeah, yeah. Just yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm no prude. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh boy. Anyway.
Okay. So I wanted to move on to like theories you may have for the upcoming specials with like David Tennant.
Oh man, it's funny because like I had the 14th Doctor aspect of it spoiled to me, because I just thought it was
Okay.
like when I first read that like he was coming back, there was like theory that like, or like it was a leak, I don't remember what it was, that like it's the 14th Doctor, that he's this weird like in between Doctor, and there's like a big mystery. I was like, when I first read it, I was like, there's no way this is true, and I was like, oh, actually, sorry, my cat just ran by, literally just hit against my chair. So you're making them for the fire alarm, Pippin, aren't you? So uh it's funny, so I had that spoiled, and because I was originally, I'm like, there's no way they're doing that, there's no way
Yeah.
they're going to like have this 14th Doctor. But then it's like the theories that I read, I was like, okay, that actually is kind of interesting, because you have established that Tom Baker is the curator, so they can revisit faces. So okay, and it's Russell T Davies, so it's like, all right, maybe this is something, he's not going to just do this to do this, he's going to try something interesting with this. And I know that like when I interviewed Neil Patrick Harris, I couldn't ask for
I saw
spoilers, but I'm
that.
like, yeah, if you watch the video, you can see it as like a little box that says Doctor Who's 60th anniversary. Because I wanted to have it. I'm like, what's the
Mhm.
favorite scene you directed? He's like, the first one, first favorite scene you did, and he's like, the first one. And he had said that like he's really good, and like the show honors what's come before, but pokes fun at it, but also pushes it forward. So what is it going to be? I really don't know, and I'm kind of excited just to find out. I'm
Yeah.
excited that like there might be like 14th Doctor box sets from Big Finish, because again, like clearly like Big Finish.
Hmm.
But I think, I don't know. I really don't know. I think I feel like my gut is that it is going to wrap up some plot holes, not plot holes, or like plot threads
Hmm.
from the original Russell T Davies era. He's obviously bringing in elements from the comics. Um, Beep the Meat, for example, like he's bringing in like things that like from the expanded universe, like sort of like codifying those into canon, or like giving a version of that into canon. Um, and then he is, what I kind of hope is like it's just basically a celebration of the 60th anniversary, and sets things up in a really interesting way for, so sort of not like a harsh reset, but like a nice reboot for Shutigatawa's era. Like that's I and
Hmm.
I'm yeah, that's my
Okay.
theory. What's your theory?
Um, I'm wondering if there could be a way that the 14th Doctor is able to help Donna, where she has gets her memories back, because I think a
Yeah,
lot of fans say her ending was the worst, because even though she lived, she like lost all of that like personal growth and stuff, and then like she, and like one of the previews, she says something about there's something in my life that's missing. So like
yeah,
it'd be nice if like kind of like when they went back and saved Gallifrey, like they can
yeah,
like figure something out to help her. So
yeah,
that's what I'm hoping.
yeah. I am also hoping that like, yeah, I think that it's interesting, because I hope they don't completely fix things, because while Donna's ending is tragic, that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like what I loved about it. I always found it really interesting that all the companions, that with Rose and Donna, and the exception of Martha, really had these kind of heartbreaking endings. That
Mm-hmm.
Rose, is lost in a completely different universe with a version of the man she loves.
Yeah.
We have Donna losing her whole, like all of her character growth,
Yeah.
because she had to save the galaxy. Um, and then you have like, even the only reason like Martha kind of gets out of it okay is because she's like, I'm walking away, I'm leaving, I'm
Deuces.
uh, yeah, it's just like it's an interesting idea of, I had this sort of like running theory at the time where living like the Doctor is not necessarily a poison pill, but it's like you travel with him, and you're sort of going to be met with some kind of tragic end, because like you see
Mm-hmm.
all these heights, you see all these magical things, but like at the end of the day, like, you know you are, it's going to come at some kind of a cost. I don't think I subscribe to that theory anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that just for especially for Donna, that there's something interesting in that. So I hope it's not like a cleaning of the slate. But I hope that like if they do clean the slate, that it's comes at a cost. I think that's always
Okay.
like something that I'm some of the stuff that I think about my own work, but also in Doctor Who in general. Like I don't want them to like do this thing and then undo it. I think one of my biggest criticisms about like some other recent franchises, like when they undo a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just like, oh, everything's fixed now. Good examples like Marvel, for example. Like I think what I have a lot of issues with Marvel in general, and I think the one thing they got right was with Endgame, where they had to like reset the entire, like they had to bring everyone back,
Yeah.
but they still had to have those 5 years. So like you had those 5 years, and but like so things are going to be different. Like you can't just reset things back to 5 years ago. They're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
5 years have passed, people are coming back. Characters had to die to make sure that like that the people are saved. Um, but since then, I feel like they haven't really explored the nature of that fallout. Like they just kind of reset the status quo, and every time they get close to exploring what that 5 year period meant and people coming back, and they sort of pull their punch back. They're like, let's make it a little bit easier. So if you're gonna bring that Donna back, if you're gonna give her memory back, what does that cost the Doctor to do? What does that cost the galaxy to do? What does that cost? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is it? There has to be some kind of cost, and not necessarily tragic, but
Yeah.
like, is it going to be? Is that what's going to cause the 14th Doctor to become the 15th Doctor? Is that what is it that mean? Like, what is the price to give this character that happy ending? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
That's really good. And that is why you're a writer right there.
yeah,
Like, because like you like think about things much deeper. I'm like, wow. I'm just like a little kid, like, I want these people to be happy. And you're like, but wait,
yeah.
let's add these other things. I'm like, okay, that makes
You
sense.
know it, and but I will say like this there's and this is a big debate like my girlfriend and I have. Like I definitely want characters to be happy. Like a lot of the TV shows that I'm watching right now are a lot of things in the books I'm reading right now, the things the media I'm consuming are things that I'm looking for happy endings. I'm not watching The Last of Us. I'm not watching the recent Game of Thrones because I'm just not in the mental space for that.
Yeah.
Um but at the same time, like I think, I want there has to be like a cause and effect to these things, and it's like there are ways to do it that still feel happy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's I don't know, it's yeah, I think as fans, and this is something I've kind of again I've experienced in writing, it's just like as fans, like we want everything to be kind of neat and pat together, um because it in some ways, like we want that fan service, like as much as like it is really really nice to see um like Tennant and Matt Smith together in the Day of the Doctor,
Mm-hmm.
but the best part of that show episode was when they didn't get along, like
Yeah.
when they get along and like, oh lovely, those
Mm-hmm.
little moments, like those are great, but the conflict is what makes that episode crackle,
That's
you
true.
know so it's sometimes the most satisfying stories aren't necessarily the ones that are the happiest. The ones that linger with you aren't necessarily the happiest. And again, I'm not saying that like we shouldn't have that. I'm not saying that Donna doesn't deserve that. I'm hoping that like if we see Donna reset, we
Mm-hmm.
see it in a way that means something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to get your thoughts on Shooty Gatwa. I've never seen that sex ed show, so I'm
Oh,
not
sex
really
education. Yeah.
familiar. I'm not familiar with his work. I've just seen him in interviews, and just like from his interviews, it seems like he could have the essence of the Doctor.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like, I'm interested in like definitely just like giving him a chance like you should every doctor.
Oh yeah. I think it's going to be interesting. It's like I'm excited for him as the third Scottish Doctor. I think it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
really nice to see. I think what's going to be really interesting for his era is like I watched a little bit of Sex Education. He has like the personality to do it. Um, I'm really curious to see what his era is going to be like in terms of the production.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a higher budget show because of the Disney money.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be more. It's going to aim younger, I'm guessing, because he's a much younger doctor. Though I think he's like in his early 30s. I thought he was like 20 something, but he's like
Mm-hmm.
30 something. Um, it's. I think of when it comes to new doctors. I remember very vividly being like, I think I'm done after David Tennant. And then Matt Smith pops his head out. He's like, "Do you have an apple?" And I was like, "Ah, this guy's the best."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just excited for more Doctor Who. That's kind of how I view it. It's like I don't even the doctors that I don't necessarily like, I like them because they work so much better in context. The moment you start like
Yeah.
there's certain classic doctors that I don't love as much as other classic doctors, and modern doctors I don't love as much as
Mm-hmm.
other modern doctors. But when you start like the cool thing about Doctor Who in general is that like you can have all these different versions of them. So like you can like very good examples like I love Colin Baker in Big Finish. His on-screen work doesn't really work as well,
Yeah.
but I really appreciate it because that informs the Seventh Doctor and makes you appreciate the Fifth Doctor in a different way. I didn't love Eccleston's first season, but you kind of appreciate what he is and who he was for that time
Yeah.
and place. So I have no idea what Ncuti Gat was going to be giving us, but I'm so here for it. I think it's hilarious that his companion basically looks like Rose and Clara combined.
Combined. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's like it's Jenna Coleman's face on like Billy Piper's body. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yes, it is. And then like she's like, yeah, I was like a baby when did titties on, making me like
Mm.
almost feel really old. I'm like, oh
Oh yeah. Well, yeah,
my.
yeah. It was like, oh god. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. We kind of like talked about him in that panel that I was on, and like there was like quite a bit of like the 15 Doctor cosplay at the
Oh
convention,
yeah.
which I thought was cool.
It's exciting, and I think we talked about this before, and I know we talked about it today. Like having that representation on screen is huge, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like you know the people who don't like it get screwed. Like it's just I think it's cool. I can never pull off a look that good. Like the all that orange, like I would look
Yeah,
terrible in that. Like,
I
but
don't
like I was,
think
I
so.
no. Trust me, I don't look good in certain colors. But I think it's also just I think it's just cool. I think because
Mm-hmm.
it's also like I think he's openly gay in
Mm-hmm.
real life, and I think this is also something really powerful because Russell T Davies is openly gay, and how that is going to inform his portrayal and his performance. And I think it's really great that like there are going to be, a lot of young gay black men, a lot of those people who will be like, hey, I could be the doctor now. And
Yeah,
that's massive. That's huge. I mean, like even like I like that's one thing I love about like Georgia Tennant and David Tennant. It's like if you ever look at Georgia Tennant's like
yeah, I follow
Instagram,
her.
she's like the best. She's just like
She
she gets it.
is.
She gets it.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I just think it's awesome. I think it's gonna be weird that he has a mustache and some things. I think that's weird. And like, as even though we had the War Doctor with a goatee or
Hmm.
Van Dyke or whatever it was, I think that like the Doctor having a mustache kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
Even though we had like the Morbius doctors have one of them or a couple of them had a mustache, fine.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just my own bias against mustaches. I don't know, but like apparently he shaves it off at some point. So anyway,
Okay.
yeah, I way too much thought about like he's the first mustachioed doctor. since the Morbius doctors. So anyway, yeah, way too much thought about this. Like clearly that's my line in the sand is mustaches and the doctor.
Oh my gosh. I've never heard a strong argument about mustaches, but you
I,
know
I
what?
just don't get it.
Like
Like
you're
I just
getting
don't get it.
exclusive
Like
content here, people.
yeah. Why does he have a mustache? Anyway, yeah. I think it's what's I'm always kind of curious about like when the doctor regenerates in height. How does that work? Like how like I can sort of understand them becoming smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can understand the doctor going from like Peter Capaldi height to Jodie Whittaker height because Jodie Whittaker is the same height I think as Sylvester McCoy. Like
Okay.
I can understand them shrinking because they're expelling energy, but how do they get bigger? Anyway, sorry. That see
Mm-hmm.
that's those are the questions fans should be asking. How do they get bigger? Where's the energy coming from?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I don't know.
what are you excited about for Shruti's era?
I'm just wondering what type of adventures they're gonna go on. I know, like one of the questions that they asked at the panel I was on, like, what adventures you want to see. I'm like, I'm not sure, but I know what I don't want to see. I don't want to see Shooty be a slave. I don't want him to go
Yeah,
to Virginia back in slavery times and like he spends most of the episode as a slave. I was like, no, please don't do
no,
that.
no,
Please don't.
no, yeah, yeah,
And then I just wonder
yeah,
how they're gonna go back in the past. Like I I've always imagined if I would have traveled with a doctor, I wouldn't even want to go to the past. I'm like,
yeah,
let's go to this planet. Let's go. Like, yeah. So I'm like, I'm just wondering how they're going to do it.
yeah. I think that's gonna. I mean, that was I remember them addressing it a little bit with Jodie Whittaker's companions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like how do you have a black man in even like 1960s America? Like,
Yeah.
what is that going to be like? Or like, just basically anything. It really, let's be honest, anything today in general. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there. So that's going to be there's so many storytelling opportunities, and I think that's like the great thing about Doctor Who in general is that you can address societal issues in a really interesting way, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of really great creative and sociopolitical opportunities in having a black man be the doctor
Yeah.
in a way that like having a white man as a doctor doesn't allow you to.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if someone has a problem with that, they can you know get effed. So
All right. So, we are coming to the end. Like, did you have like any other like thoughts or things you wanted to say?
about Doctor Who in general, I'm just excited. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
excited for the new era. Um, I'm I'm hoping that we get a more expensive universe on camera. I hope
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't like hurt like sort of the expanded universe on audio drama. I think the biggest thing that was missing from the Chibnall era was because you look at like the David Tennant era or even the Matt Smith era, like there was all these books and like this give and take of things. Like there was like a one story called I think it's Being Human's a different one. I forget the name of it, but there's one David Tennant story which they mentioned this one like friend of um Donna's of Wilf's like a friend of Wilf, and they mentioned like that novel was so good, and they mentioned her in the his Journey's End story. It's just like this really
Mm-hmm.
cool little like give and take from the sort of expanded universe. Um, and knowing that we're gonna get more like sort of on-screen expanded universe, I hope it doesn't come at the cost of the audio dramas, the books. I'm hope that because I hope that basically Russell T Davies is someone who's worked very kindly with these licensors before, that we can see more. Like I just want to Doctor Who is such an expansive universe that like there's it's so many places you can go, so many different directions you can explore, that it just opens the doors up in a way that I don't think the Chibnall era really allowed for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um So that's kind of what I'm really hoping for. Like I would love a Paternoster Gang TV show, and then like a series of books that ties into I don't whatever. I want more of that. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have something that's like not Doctor Who related, but you related.
sure.
I wanted to say that video. I don't know if it was a year or so ago, but this video you posted where you're addressing the rumors about you being a Muppet, it
Oh
lives
yeah.
rent free in my head. And like, I don't know how that started, but
Oh, I mean the rumors that I'm a Muppet is really hurtful and crazy. I don't know where they started. I assure the listeners that I have legs, that I am not felt, and I do not have a hand up my butt, making me move. I understand that you were listening to this and you cannot see and prove this, but and that Katrina can't see me. I can't see my legs, but I assure you that they're real. How did that happen? I can't remember exactly how it started, but my friend DJ Stormageddon, he made a joke about that. And the thing you need to know about me is like I commit to bits, and
yeah.
so I did the thing where you
Yeah.
just so it's yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it started. I think it's hilarious. I mean, there's really no way of proving over the internet that I am not a Muppet.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely no way in this interview to prove that I'm not a Muppet.
Yeah.
Really figure out yourself. Like do the investigation, do your own research. Do I have legs? I don't know. I can't tell you.
Oh my goodness. I mean, and then you being on Sesame Street, that doesn't help
Oh, it
either.
doesn't help at all. It
Yeah.
does not help at all. Now, being on Sesame Street was weird, man. Like that was I was an intern there, and like if you ever need like a extra, let me know. And sure enough, the Furry Road Monster Parade, season 35,
Mm-hmm.
I get a lot of messages to this day of people like, why are you on my kids' TV right now? And it's like because whenever I see people like if people assume, I'm like, oh, it's an episode of Sesame Street. They're like, oh, you were like 8. I'm like, now it's 20.
Mm-hmm.
So God, that was 20 years ago. That's that's
Ooh.
that's terrifying. Anyway, so yeah, it was weird. It was really cool. When you are surrounded by Muppets, you kind of forget that they're like people laying on the floor with their hands in the air.
Mm-hmm.
You just and Big Bird was yeah, Big Bird was awesome. Carol Spinney was great. It was a cool
Mm-hmm.
job. It's been a dumb life. Can't complain. So
I'm
yeah,
awesome, way.
I'm very very lucky. I've worked very very hard to be here. I'm so tired. It's been
Oh,
I'm very lucky,
yeah.
and I'm not a Muppet.
I believe you. I don't think you're a Muppet. You got Muppet energy though.
I do. I totally do.
That's
I
a good
totally.
thing though. It's a good thing to have Muppet energy.
Yay! I mean, yay!
Like there, like years ago, like this girl, she posted this thing and she deleted it. I don't know why, but she was like, I like to date men with Muppet energy. And no, I'm not explaining what that means. And I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the us Muppet men. I mean, people are like Muppets.
A
We're
manly
we're.
Muppet of a man.
I'm a man of a Muppet. I am a yeah. No, we're fantastic. I have no idea what I'm going with this, so I'm just gonna stop right now.
It's okay. So why don't you tell listeners so we can follow you, like your
Sure.
books and stuff?
So you can follow me at Adam Lance Garcia on every social media, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Hive, and a few others. I've just Adam Lance Garcia. That's me. You can listen to my Green Llama audio drama on your favorite podcast app. The first season is streaming. We are currently planning season 2. And if you want to listen to read some of my work, just go on to your favorite bookseller, type in Lance Garcia. You'll find my work, the Green Llama novels. And coming September 5th, you can read my very first Star Wars story in Star Wars from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi. It's my first Star Wars, and I cannot tell you what it is about. I'm not allowed just yet. We'll be announcing the subject and the story later this year. But it is a story that is set during Return of the Jedi. And it is a literal, it is everything I've wanted to happen in my life was to be a Star Wars writer. And so September 5th, my very first Star Wars book.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get a copy. Like, I'm more of a novel Star Wars fan. Like, someone I was like on another podcast and they were talking about the new season of The Mandalorian, which I haven't seen that, but someone was like, yeah, you need to watch this before you watch The Mandalorian to catch up. I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, it's all prose. It's all short story. It's a lot of different stories. We touch upon a lot of I touch upon a lot of. I'm actually doing I'm annotating the story right now, all the little references. But yeah, it's good on its own. I think at least I think so.
Yeah, so I'll get a copy, and then when you come to Gallifrey One next year, you can sign it for me.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Promise.
Cool. And then, like, listeners, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I haven't gone on all the other things. Like, I'm on TikTok, but I just haven't really done much.
No, we're too old for TikTok. I get on there. I'm like Steve Buscemi, like, hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, like I when my nephew gets back from college, I'm like, can you help me make a tickety talk, please? Like, I just
it's a lot of work. It's more work than I have time for.
Yes. So that makes me feel good that you're like freaked out about it too.
Oh no. Yeah, I did it for like a hot minute, and I was like, I have to start now with some promotions and stuff like that. But even then.
Well, listeners, thank you for joining in. And again, if you are going to be at Golden Con, the Golden Girls Convention in Chicago, I will be there with my sisters wearing our Golden Girls cosplay, and I'm going to be on a panel again there. So that'll be fun. Hope to see you there. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.